been suggested that the Spanish government might create difficulties because the Catalan government is proposing itself to have a referendum in November of this year about independence, following the Scottish referendum. Well, the Spanish government is very unhappy about the Scottish referendum, but they've never said that they would veto Scottish membership of the European Union.
A lot may depend on how Scotland is viewed by our European neighbours. Those patriots out there with high blood pressure should look away now.
I don't think really that if you look at Scotland, the other countries that you care much about Scotland, whether it's I mean, you have a population there which is less than 1.5% of the total relevant. Our contribution output is only 1.5%. We're a very small and insignificant country. And I do not understand why anybody in the rest of the EU would care either way about Scotland.
Oh, that's fighting talk round that way. So, would an independent Scotland be blocked from joining the European Union?
That I find almost unthinkable, because it's just in nobody's interest, including the other member states. It wouldn't be in the interest of the United Kingdom or any other country to create a big hole in the European internal market.
Ah yes, the British in Europe. UKIP, the UK Independence Party, don't want independence for Scotland, but they're desperate to break the link with Europe.
If Scotland were to vote to stay in, and England were to vote to come out, you would open the
It's new Titanic. 15,000 fighter jets, sleek new fighter jets, fleet of frigates, and all very affordable 1.5 billion.
This is actually quite misleading because it does not take into consideration the significant startup cost that Scotland would have to bear in terms of a brand new country, the defence, a new defence research establishment, an office of training establishment, a ministry of defence, and armed forces, etc. And these are very expensive assets, and much of what Scotland can inherit will be simply down to how effectively we can actually negotiate with the rest of the UK government.
On defence, we've spoken to two new academic think tanks. Their critics suggest that they're either too pro-union or pro-independence. See if you can work out which is which.
The fact is that Scotland has been part of the UK. Scottish taxpayers have contributed towards UK defence, and so I don't think it's a case of London handing over stuff to Scotland as if it's some charitable exercise.
And let's be absolutely key here. Post-independence, all military assets, defence assets will legally belong to the UK government. There is no legal obligation on them to negotiate away their assets.
Even if a deal can be done on conventional weapons, that still leaves a scarily explosive elephant in the corner of the room that can't be ignored.
I think it's overwhelmingly likely that Trident will be evicted from Scotland. It's almost unthinkable, in fact, that politically he would get away with actually kind of backtracking on this commitment.
There's no way that the UK government could actually remove Trident 2. There's only 3 ports, naval ports in the UK that could be possible venues for Trident, and all 3 of them are unsuitable for a wide variety of reasons. They're too close to civilian populations, too close to gas plants, etc.
Of course, nuclear weapons aren't much of a defence against our most likely enemies these days. You can't really launch a Trident missile at a guy with a homemade bomb.
Have we got cabbage?
Terrorist target to be independent, but of course that would very much depend on what Scotland did as an independent state.
If an independent Scotland was no longer on the terrorist hit list, would it leave the back door open for the bad guys to sneak through and attack England?
In the eventuality of Scotland becoming independent, there's a high probability that there will be a border constructed between Scotland and England, and there will be border checks. And this has been articulated to me from the highest levels of the MOD.
I view man border posts is most scaremongering, and it's I consider it grossly irresponsible.
At number 7, energy.
These resources are unparalleled in the European continent. We have 25% of Europe's tidal power potential, 25% of its offshore wind potential, and 10% of its wave potential. That's not bad for a nation with less than 1% of Europe's population.
Striking a balance between providing affordable energy and protecting the environment will be a challenge whoever ends up in charge.
Fuel poverty is not just an energy issue, it's a social policy. And there are clear indications that the Scottish Government, certainly in its included Scottish Government, and you would expect a government in Scotland of any political colour would want to address that as part of line with the principles of social democracy, the broader social agenda.
15,
At number 6, immigration.
17,
We can
19.
have this whole lot of perfectly at the same time that they
Again,
want
no,
as an immigration
No. Why?
policy that is widely divergent from that of the rest
Fold.
of the United Kingdom.
They must think people in Scotland button up the back. There'll be no border controls between an independent Scotland and the rest of the UK.
You know, it's
In
getting dark
January,
out
we were
there.
supposed to be overrun by hungry hordes of Romanian and Bulgarian immigrants. So far, that doesn't seem to be icing.
If you come to, come to work,
We're going down the
you open
street.
the border, I come to work, to make the ice double.
The guest can't say, in an independent Scotland, people from overseas
Should I even go back into the bed here?
would be actively encouraged to come.
Hey,
What they propose
did you
in
not
the
hear
white
me
paper
going
is
back
not
into the
radical.
bed
I
here?
think what they propose is sensible, where you attract people that have high levels of skill, high levels of earning ability, and these people, in a sense, drive the economy. And if we look at the demography of Scotland, the labour force is not really set to grow very much, so immigration is going to be important, expanding the labour force.
Down south, they're not quite so welcoming. We're not like that here, are we?
I think the difference between Scotland and England, or Scotland and the UK, really boils down to the fact that there's been less immigration in Scotland than the UK for a significant period of time. So the fact that there's more tolerance here is because there's been less of it. That doesn't mean tolerance in the future when there's more immigration. So this will be a problem. This will be a hurdle we have to jump.
At number 5, currency.
We can make both an independent Scotland work for the benefit of the Scottish people, and we can have the institutional arrangements that make competing with pound work for the Scottish people as well. The nationalists say they want to re-enter a sort of currency union where they'd be told what to do in terms of tax and spending. That's a very funny form of independence.
Even I understand that when it comes to currency, there are 3 basic options.
One is that Scotland stays part. That has the advantage that you don't need to change your money when you cross the border, and trading relationships that we've got used to pretty much continue without any added cost.
It might be the simplest way of moving things forward, but isn't it a bit odd for a newly independent country to want to share its currency with the old enemy and have Scottish interest rates set by the Bank of England? Isn't the Bank of England's first responsibility to England? I mean the UK, well, the rest of the UK, not Scotland anyway. When the new governor popped up to say hello to our First Minister, presumably Harry told him it's our pound too, right?
It's as much Scotland's pound as it is the UK's pound. It's an attractive slogan, very easy to get, and something that intuitively everybody in Scotland say, well, this is my pound. However, it's difficult to understand what that actually means in practice. The Bank of England has to set interest rate policy to reflect the capacity of UK taxpayers to support its borrowings. The duty of care it would have would be to UK taxpayers or the remaining UK taxpayers, and that might not be what would be in Scotland's best interest.
If they won't share still with us, we would still have some alternatives, wouldn't we?
It is proved it possible to share the tax burden on the terms proposed by the Scottish government. Then the other option might be to establish its own currency.
Our own wee pound, that sounds great, or maybe not.
Scotland could launch its own currency. It would give it absolute power over all the financial levers, all the fiscal levers that are currently being called for, and there's nothing to stop it doing that. The issue for Scotland would be how does it get a track record with the money markets, and that's the critical thing here.
The Scottish government's position at the moment is that it doesn't have a plan B. Sterling is going to work.
Scotland isn't allowed to share the pound with the rest of the UK and doesn't introduce its own currency. Surely that means there's only one other option left.
The last option is to join the euro. A lot of that depends on whether or what conditions the European Union might set, and whether they really believe in these conditions and would like to force Scotland to stick with them. There are other countries that seem to have made promises to join the euro, but don't seem to have followed through on these promises.
The euro? No, I don't think so. Look what being in the euro did for the Irish, and the Spanish, and the poor old Greeks.
I suspect that the Scottish government, at least in present circumstances, will try to avoid going any close
world, we've got devolution of powers in education and health in the Scottish Parliament, but we're also part of something bigger. After more than 300 years, we've learned to live with our friends in the south, through good times and bad.
We were in a situation where two states shared an island with all sorts of economic interdependencies, with all sorts of security interdependencies, with all sorts of social and family relationships across the border. There is a pretty strong expectation that the instinct of both governments would be an amicable one.
Amicable? After all those arguments and rows and votes and referendums, or is it referenda? You know what I mean.
Of course, we're going to have a UK election in May 2015, which will be slap bang in the middle of that period when the two go.
Despite all the disagreements and rhetoric, most reasonable people think things could be settled, well, reasonably.
If we do vote yes, to a relationship between the rest of the UK and Scotland, which would be a bit different to relationships between most independent states. If Scotland does vote yes, the relationship between the UK and Scotland would not be the same as that between the UK and Bulgaria or the UK and Zimbabwe.
That's if it's a yes vote. But what happens if the majority of us decide to vote no? Will everything remain the same?
One of the really interesting questions in this debate is what no means. We know an awful lot more now about what yes might mean following the white paper. We're not yet that clear on what no might mean.
The yes camp warned that a no vote could mean yet more years of Tory rule, despite the fact that at the last general election we only elected one Tory MP, at 1 out of 59.
Aspiration, opportunity, these are our words, these are our dreams.
In the event of a substantial, sort of resounding victory for the No campaign, because there's such a small proportion of the electorate that votes for the Conservative Party in particular, I think we would see a sense of frustration that the UK government as a whole wasn't effectively representing the spread of Scottish public opinion.
At number 3, welfare.
The key thing for me in terms of welfare is the ability to design a welfare system that suits Scotland's needs and circumstances.
I think the Scottish people need to know. Very simple question. There's more spending in Scotland on welfare than there is in other parts of England, some parts of England. The question is, how are you going to cover that gap?
Armed Forces pension spends over £15 billion in Scotland on welfare. It's a massive, massive budget. We spend slightly more per head in Scotland than is the case in the UK as a whole, about £300–400 per head more.
Most of our welfare bill goes on care for the elderly and the disabled, but the political row about welfare centres on the low-paid and the unemployed.
The Scottish Government and the broader Yes campaign have hinted that an independent Scotland would produce and run a very different kind of welfare system, a very different kind of social security system that would be more egalitarian and more generous perhaps in expenditure.
At number 2, pensions.
On oil, they're worried. On public service jobs,